So in this video, I wanted to describe very quickly at Wayfarers how we approach serving and service. I think hopefully you won't be able to find a church anywhere that doesn't say, yes, serving other people is really valuable. Hopefully you won't find a nonprofit out there that doesn't agree with that. I don't think you'll find a lot of people that aren't into the idea of serving others. But I think that there is a difference in how we tend to serve people, which is volunteering. It tends to be out of our own free time. It tends to be our donations to organizations tend to be once we've taken care of all our other things. When we have enough, I can give the surplus to other people, whether that's time or energy or money. But I think if we are really going to grow into kingdom people, if we're really going to grow into the kind of people that I think Jesus is asking us to be, we don't get to be people who occasionally serve. We don't get to be people who occasionally volunteer. We, at the core of who we are, have to be people who are servants. And I think a servant is someone who recognizes a certain fact about life, and that is ultimately the good things in our life are not ours. We believe that they are gifts from God. These are things we call blessing. God himself is the source of light and life and energy and abundance. All good things are, in fact, direct gifts from God. And yet we tend to make a mistake of thinking that they are ours. We've earned them. We were given these opportunities. These are things I worked hard for. And while there's an aspect of that, the way things have lined up, the way things have fallen into place usually has to do with a lot of circumstances, a lot of dumb luck that's beyond our control. And so one of the most important aspects, I think, of being a servant is recognizing ultimately these blessings, these good gifts from God aren't ours. And then I think the second step is recognizing that they aren't ultimately meant for us. God promises left and right that he will take care of us. There will be enough for us, even if we don't feel like we have enough money, even if we don't feel like we have enough time or expertise or energy to actually take care of the immense need we see in the world. We are asked to do our part anyway. We're asked to take the advantage of the opportunities that are given to us. And so the idea of being blessed and acknowledging the things we have to be thankful for always leads to the next step of blessing others, of keeping a sharp eye out, of having good rhythms of life where we are intentionally looking week in and week out, building the habit, building the character trait of saying, how can I extend the good things that I have? How can I extend whatever I have to bless others, to be good for them? And I do think that this is going to kind of be fundamentally played out generally in two ways. One is going to be pretty obvious acts of service. So this is the really obvious stuff. It might be, helping out a neighbor. It might be giving someone a listening ear and time. It might be making a meal for someone who's suffering. It might be foregoing advice when we don't actually know what we're talking about. Instead, just being with someone, letting them talk to us, letting them be frustrated, just simply being with them. I think all of these kind of options of service are things that are every day available to us. And if our default position is, I'm too tired, I'm too whatever, we have not internalized this idea of how truly blessed we actually are. If we don't think we have enough to take care of others, to go find others in need, to extend those blessings to others, I don't think we've done a good enough job of truly being thankful, of truly being appreciative. And I think this is one of the aspects of service that we can't just do on our own. We can't just try harder to be more appreciative. We can't just be more intentional on our own. And that's why we believe these are community practices, why we try and support one another. Just having open eyes. A lot of the time, the people around us are going to see needs, are going to be attempting to meet needs that they can't do on their own. And I think God wants us to extend that blessing clean and ready, and we have all the foods in place, right? Even the way we invite people into our lives tends to be curated. Think about how we all approach social media. We tend to want to look good, to make our lives seem interesting and meaningful. And again, our life in place, right? Even the way we invite people into our lives tends to be curated. Think about how we all approach social media. We tend to want to, we have all the foods in place, right? Even the way we invite people into our lives tends to be curated. Think about how we all approach social media. We tend to want to look good, to make our lives seem interesting and meaningful. And again, our lives are supposed to be interesting and meaningful, but they're not all the time. And so, a lot of the time, when we are inviting people into our lives, we're doing it in a very kind of hands off way, a way that is safe, a way that shows them the good things, the parts we want to highlight. And we don't invite people into our mess. We don't invite people into our mistakes. And so I think an aspect of blessing is inviting people into whatever we have in our lives. Is that literally going to be our homes? Yes, probably a lot. We should be sharing meals. We should be providing meals with people, not just people that are like us, not just people that make us comfortable, but actually seeking out people that are very different than us or might disagree with us. We invite them into our homes. We invite them into our lives. We don't get to put up that barrier. We don't only get to show them the good parts, the impressive parts. We have to show them the whole thing. And my suspicion is when people get to look at our hearts, they will in fact find a deep thankfulness when we are acknowledging God and the good things He's put into our lives. They will see mistakes. They will see the things that we are stumbling through. But when we invite people into kind of our heart of hearts, who we actually are, when we invite people into our homes, into our lives, into our work, into our play, into our mistakes, I think we are serving them, because almost everywhere in our culture, people are not actually invited into each other's lives very well. We play at community, we play at relationships. But when we are intentional about seeing people for who they are and trusting them, when they've seen who we are, that trust is earned that we can actually serve one another in kind of a mutual way. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in this next video. I know this one was kind of vague, but I think the idea of serving is really important in that we first need to recognize service can only come from a place of thankfulness. It can only come from us extending our blessings. And I think it's almost always going to come down to a place of hospitality. We need to invite people into our lives. We need to invite people into our homes. We need to invite people into our mistakes and our joys and our victories. And when that relationship is established, that is when they're going to tell us the ways we could actually serve them. And that will tell them the ways that they can actually serve us.